Hey guys, today's math lesson we are doing lesson 92. It's on page 479 of your math book. And this one is a little bit of a long one, so I'm going to go ahead and warn you for that. But we are doing three separate topics. So we are going to learn how to do expanded notation with exponents. You've already learned how to do expanded notation. You just haven't learned the exponent part yet. And then we're also going to continue on with order of operations with exponents. And then we're going to do powers of fractions. So we are going to do fractions with exponents as well. So exponents is the main topic today. So first off, I'm going to take care of the expanded notation with exponents. So right here's a little hint for you. The exponent represents how many numbers are behind the number you are expanding. So the easiest way to think about this, if you have this number right here, 186,000, that means that 1 is your first number. So count with me, how many places are behind that 1? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means that I am multiplying a 1 times 10 to the 5th power because I have 5 places behind the 1. And you're always going to multiply it by 10 because each place value jumps 10 spots essentially. The next number is 8. So I'm going to use that 8 and I'm going to count how many places are behind the 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means that 8 is going to be multiplied by 10 to the 4th power. Then I have a 6. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to count how many places are behind the 6. 1, 2, 3. So then I'm going to multiply 6 times 10 to the 3rd power. And I'm actually finished with that because the zeros do not matter. So I'm going to leave those as is. So this number is the exact same as this huge equation. And if you want to double check, you can always actually solve these out. And when you do solve them out, you would get that exact answer. So let's do another one together. So I have 250,500. So I'm going to start with my 2 because that's my beginning number. And I'm going to count how many places are behind that 2. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means that my first equation is going to be 2 times 10 to the 5th because there's 5 places behind the 2 and 2 is my first number. Then notice how up here I've connected all of these with a plus sign. So I'm going to do the same down here. So now I'm going to work on the 5. So I count how many places are behind the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means that it's going to be 5 times 10 to the 4th power. Then I'm going to put an addition sign. And remember, I skip zeros. So I'm going to move on to the second 5 right here. And I'm going to count how many places are behind that second 5. 1, 2. So that means that I'm going to do 5 times 10 to the 2nd power. And that is my full answer. Because I'm skipping the zeros. And again, if you're unsure, you can always actually solve each of these out. And you would get the exact same answer. So, for example, 5 times 10 to the 2nd would give you 500. And then 5 times 10 to the 4th would give you 50,000. and then 2 times 10 to the 5th would give you 200,000. And then if you add all of those up together, then of course you get 250,500, which is the answer that I'm trying to get. And that's how you can double check. Okay, now let's work backwards. Let's say that we are given this instead and we're told to write the number. So again, the first part of the equation tells you what your beginning number is going to be. So I know that my beginning number is going to be a 7. And then that exponent tells you how many places are behind the 7. So what I like to do, just so I know I don't make any mistakes, is I like to draw the little blanks and how many of them that I know I'm going to end up with. So I know that I'm going to have 6 blanks where numbers are going to go. So I'm going to draw 6 little blanks here, just so I know I don't make any mistakes. Then I can fill in by looking at the rest of the equation. So 2 is going to be the second number that I put, and I know that there has to be 5 places behind that 2. So I'm going to start here at the back, and I'm going to count up 5 places, and then I'm going to put my 2 on the 6th place. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so that means that my 2 is going to go in the 6th blank. Then I'm going to do my 5 times 10 to the 4th. So I'm going to count up 4 places, and then I'm going to put a 5 on the 5th blank. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then so that 5 is going to go there in the 5th blank. Then I'm going to move on to the second part. So that 2, I'm going to count up 2 places, and then I'm going to put my 1 in the 3rd blank. So 1, 2, so then that 1 is going to go in the 3rd blank. Now we have some open blanks here, which means zeros go in those open blanks. Because remember, I am skipping zeros. So that is my answer. All I have to do is just add commas in. So you get a comma every 3 digits. So my answer is 7,250,100. Okay, next I have the order of operations with exponents. So this is mainly review for you because you have already learned how to do this. So remember parentheses, exponents, and square roots. Then you do multiplication and division, and then you do addition and subtraction. So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, because you have the P for parentheses, the E for exponents, my M for multiplication, D for division, A for addition, and S for subtraction. And remember, I just go in that order. So right here, if I have this problem, okay, my first rule tells me that I need to look for parentheses first. So I'm going to do my parentheses first. So 8 plus 8 gives me 16. So then 16 takes the place of that 8 plus 8. So I'm going to go ahead and cross out that 8 plus 8, and everything else gets copied down. So the 5, the minus, the division, square root 16, the plus sign, 3 to the 2nd power, multiplication, and then the 2. So then now, rule 2 tells me to look for exponents and square roots. So I'm going to do that next. So right here, I have square root 16, which is going to equal 4, and then I have 3 to the 2nd power, which is going to equal 9. So then I've taken care of that one and that one. So then now I'm going to copy down the rest of the problem. So I have 2 multiplication, 9 plus 4 division, 16, subtraction, and 5. Okay, then I'm going to look for multiplication and division signs, because that's next. And remember, if I have multiple multiplication and division signs, then I'm just going to move left to right and do whatever comes first. So I'm going to go to the first division sign in the problem. So 16 divided by 4, and that gives me 4. And then 9 times 2 gives me 18. So I took care of these two. So now I'm going to just pull down my plus sign, my minus sign, and then my 5, because that's all that's left. So now I'm going to add and subtract. And again, when I have multiple addition and subtraction signs, I'm just going to move left to right. So 5 minus 4 is 1. 1 plus 18 is 19. And that's my answer. So let's do another one together. So right here on this one, remember I'm going to do parentheses first. Now that little exponent could throw you off and confuse you, but if the exponent is on the outside of the parentheses, I am still going to get my answer that is in the parentheses before I do the exponent that is outside of it. So let me take care of that first. So 3 minus 1 is 2. Then I'm going to just pull down everything else. Then rule number 3 tells me to go ahead and do exponents and square roots. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of all my exponents and square roots. So 3 times 3 gives me 9. And then square root 9 is 3. And then 2 times 2 times 2 gives me 8. And I'm going to pull down everything else that is left. Now I'm going to do my multiplication and division. So 2 times 9 is 18. I'm going to pull down my subtraction and my 3 and then my plus sign and my 8. Now I can solve out my problem moving left to right because addition subtraction is my last step. So 18 minus 3 is 15. 15 plus 8 is 23. And that is my answer. Okay. So lastly is powers of fractions, which literally just means that you are going to put exponents with fractions. So you've actually seen this before on a Math Games packet, but what this means is that you're going to do 2/3 times 2/3 because 2 is your power, so that means that 2/3 is getting multiplied by itself 2 times. And then we would just multiply fractions like normal. So 2 times 2 gives me 4. 3 times 3 gives me 9. And that's my answer for that one. So let's do another one. So I have 1/2 to the 3rd power. So what that means is 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. So I'm going to do it like normal multiplication of fractions. So 1 times 1 times 1 gives me 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So my answer is 1/8. So another example. So this one, I'm going to multiply 1 and 1/2 by itself 2 times. So 1 and 1/2 times 1 and 1/2. Now remember, these are mixed numbers, so I have to change these to improper fractions before I can multiply them. So if you remember how to do that, remember 2 times 1 is 2, and then you add the numerator, so it's 1 1/2 equals 3 halves. 2 times 1 plus 1, 3 halves. So that means that both of them are going to change to 3 halves. Now I can multiply them correctly. So 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 2 is 4. But then I need to change that back to a mixed number. So remember, I'm going to divide 4 into 9. I get 2. And 1/4 is my answer. Okay, now decimals are going to work the same way if you have decimals with exponents. So for this one right here, I'm just going to draw a line here so I don't get mixed up. So 0.4 to the second power means 0.4 times 0.4. So I'm going to set that up down here where I have a little bit more room. So 4 times 4 gives me 16. 4 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 0 times 4 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. And then remember, since I'm multiplying decimals, I count how many decimal places I have before moving my decimal. So 1, 2. So my answer is 0.16. And that's it. So I will post a picture of these notes like normal, and please let me know if y'all have any questions or concerns. Have a great day, everybody.